Totally Legit Game Reviews. It's that time of the week again when here at Totally Legit Game Reviews we decide to sit down and produce a new video for your enjoyment. However, unlike the previous reviews, the game featured this time isn't inherently evil or terrible. Instead, I would hazard to guess it is easily considered a good game by modern standards. Still, there is some problems I have with it that I want to go into and discuss. First off, a disclaimer, this game is in early access, which means it might change a lot before it's released, so be sure you really like the game before putting money down. I'd consider it more of a sunk cost than an investment, but it's really up to you. All disclaimers out of the way, today's game is JumpJet Rex, a quote, punishing old-school 2D platformer with a time trial twist. The protagonist is in fact a T-Rex with JumpJet boots. Now a T-Rex, according to the Urban Dictionary, is either a large carnivorous dinosaur from the Cretaceous period, also known as Tyrannosaurus Rex and Dino Pimp Daddy, or a gnarly glam rock band from the 70s fronted by Mark Bolan. Assuming that the first definition is correct and the game is not in fact about the late Mark Bolan, then Dino Pimp Daddy has a lot of responsibilities on his tiny hands. The game itself is a fairly generic platformer in the sense that it is what you expect from a platformer. The game emphasizes speedrunning and nostalgia of the early 90s as a key selling point. This isn't necessarily bad, but there are a lot of 2D platformers with an emphasis on time trials, speedrunnings, or just retro graphic and behaviors alike. Now, the game does try to differentiate itself through a robust customization system, which at the time of recording doesn't actually exist in game yet. The game itself prides on having a high difficulty level and some quite nice 16-bit hand-drawn art. The music is chiptune, which is not my personal favorite style, but it will appeal to the core demographic that this game is trying to attract. This desire to appeal to its key demographic is what I personally feel drags the game itself down. The game is supposed to be a homage to early 90s platformers, which it really does a good job of being. The key issue is that with this sort of mentality, there isn't a lot of room to innovate or explore new ideas that could potentially be instituted into the game to make it better. Overall, this game isn't bad, it's a good game. I mean, how many 90s platformers do you know of have a Dino Pimp Daddy, aka a T-Rex, as the main character? I'd hazard to guess not many, and in fact I can't think of any off the top of my head. If anything, it really comes down to the selling price, which doesn't exactly help the game in any way, shape, or form. It's currently selling in early access for $10 a copy, with a promise of giving you a copy to a friend if you buy now. After early access, it'll rise to $15 each. Now, this might be a good incentive to some, but I personally don't feel an extra copy is worth the $10 as an initial investment. Still, if you have a desire for an early 90s styled platformer with a Dino Pimp Daddy as the main character, this is probably your best option. I'm very pleased with the potential of customization they are offering, but it is also early access, and there's other concerns to be had. Now, if the customization comes out in force, and if they do complete all of the levels like they said they will, I can easily recommend this game at a $10 price point, or even more so at a 50 to 75% off discount during a sale. Keep this game in your mind if you're looking for a good platformer, and consider picking it up on release. If you really want it, early access is always a way to go. Just be warned that it might not be completed. This has been Totally Legit Game Reviews. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel or joining our Steam Curator group.